Good evening, good evening. And it's 5 o'clock. Well, actually, it's not five, it's 5:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you're talking to Dr. Andrea Tanner. Thank you so much if you're out there listening to the Traumatic Makeover TV. What did I say? Who you heard it? Traumatic Makeover TV. And it's a night that starts forever. It is Traumatic Makeover TV, and we're here to talk to you about trauma. And again, this is our first episode. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like this, you save this, you forward this to somebody because we're talking about trauma tonight. If you're on Instagram, you like this, you save this, you love this, and send it on to someone because we're going to talk about something that a lot of people not ready for. I said it. We're not ready for it, but we're going to get it. We're going to get it tonight. And I have a guest, as I've been telling you, I have a guest from Jacksonville, Florida, and we call her the Empower Coach. Her name is Janice Robinson, but I want you to put together, made it, Janice Robinson, made it with the Empower Coach. Again, we're going to talk to her in just a few seconds, but her book here is His Beauty for My Ashes. You can get this on not Instagram. I was going to say Instagram. I guess soon you'll be able to get it, but Amazon. We buy everything at Amazon. So when you are buying something from Amazon, click it. Click it. It will change your life. So as we go on, let's welcome Janice. Just a moment here. Hi, the Empower Coach it is. Miss Janice Robinson. How are you doing, Janice?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, well, Janice, first of all, I want to say we've been knowing each other for a while. And a while means a long while. It's been maybe now over 20 years.
Yeah.
But this is another season. And this season is for both of us, my sister. And I wanted to have you on as my guest the very first time, the very first episode. Why? First of all, it's because this is what God has put on my heart. Okay. And so, without further ado, the Empower Coach, Janice, tell me something about you.
Well, there's a lot about Janice. I am a woman who is been empowered by God. I'm his ambassador. My name is Janice Robinson. I was born and raised in a small town called Belle Glade, Florida. And I am so excited because the small town is still in this girl, but now it's just been made bigger. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of four. I am a wife of a military veteran, and I'm just excited. It's excited to be on this podcast. And that's just a little bit about myself, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how I became an Empower Coach later.
Okay, wonderful. So, what does empowerment mean to you, Janice?
Empowerment means that you are able to be able to do things that you've never thought you can do. For example, sometimes when I left home, I was very young when I left home, and I didn't even think I would ever get out of that small town because of fear. But I did it. I did it. And when I moved, I began to get more and more learning more about life. And for me, that was empowerment.
Mhm.
That was empowering myself. And also, it taught me that I can be more than what I was told that I could be, if that makes any sense. But I learned more about empowerment when I got connected to the source.
Mm, the
When I got
source.
connected to the source,
Mhm.
that's when I really knew about how to be more empowered so that I can share the empowerment with others. It's encouragement. I'm encouraged. I learned how to be encouraged through my source.
Mhm. So go on. Tell me this about this source.
Well, it started when I was a little girl. I came from a line of pastors, preachers, teachers, apostles, evangelists. I came from that lineage. And when I was a little girl in my grandfather's church, I always wanted to know God. I always wanted to know why are they so happy? What are they shouting about? What are they singing about? But I always felt on the inside that there was more. I want to know more. So I was curious then. And when I left, when I grew up, when I thought about what I was being exposed to, wasn't exactly what God was trying to show me. What I was being exposed to, yeah, a way to get to God, but not a way to live for God, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So my example was I was taught how to dress the part, but I wasn't taught how to live the part.
Mm.
Difference.
Okay.
And I recalled in that environment, that church that I grew up in, that you had to come before the congregation and share what happened to you instead of going to God. And I thought that was it was so alarming for me to see that as a girl. And I see that people was crying and weeping and crying out, and I didn't understand that as a child. But when I left home, I went to a church in Hawaii, and I still didn't understand. But I knew I always wanted to know more about God. But my encounter didn't happen until I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I was about 28, maybe on my way into my 30s. And I knew then that there is faith, because I knew about God, but I didn't know about faith. I didn't understand the word. And so when I started learning about the word, that's when everything changed for me. And I'm happy about that. And that happened in 1990. It's when I had my first real encounter with God. Changed my life.
Okay. Okay. So tell me this. At what point did you realize that you were going through trauma or that you had gone through trauma?
I did not realize that I was experiencing the trauma until I actually moved away from Oklahoma. Didn't realize it. I was walking through it. I thought I was being, the woman that God created me to be, being the mother that God created me to be. But I didn't learn that I was dealing with trauma until my first experience with therapy.
Okay.
And I sought therapy when I went to Oklahoma, South Carolina. And I was having some issues with parenting, with my parents. I was trying to understand my father. I was trying to understand my mother and everything that was transcribing in my adult life.
Mhm.
Because when I left home, I was wounded. I
Ah,
was hurt. I was
okay.
broken. And all I know is I got to get away from here. That's all I could think of. And I carried all that along with me. I was 18 when I left home, and all of that traveled with me all those years. I didn't realize it was called trauma.
Ah, you didn't realize. So let's talk about that. Because what I'm hearing is what we call intergenerational trauma. Because I heard you say mama and I heard you say daddy. Intergenerational. So I'm just going to go on there. How's was your relationship with your parents?
My father is deceased. He passed away in 2015, but God gave me an opportunity to have those conversations that I needed so that I can get the closure with him. He had me to have two encounters with him to ask those hard questions that I never got to ask as a child. And once he allowed me in that space, my daddy was very receptive. He apologized. He was so just sorry that he couldn't he couldn't or he wouldn't he wasn't there for me like I needed him to be. And then I got to hear his side of the story. That's what changed our whole dynamic when I got to hear his side of the story.
Okay. Okay.
And with my mom, right now we're in a better space,
Okay.
and it's because of the me starting my journey of healing.
Okay.
Um, Even through me writing my book, that was part of the healing journey for my relationship with her. It was tough, but we're in a better space right now, and I'm grateful that I can be able to still have those conversations with her and allow her to be able to say what she needs to say, because my dad time when was short, but God redeemed that
Yes.
short time for me, that short window, the short, but we got it.
Okay.
He knew I forgave him, and he asked me for forgiveness,
Mhm.
and I forgave him, and that made our relationship blossom even more. And I just hate it just got cut short.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of fast forward. I want to go back to South Carolina.
Mhm.
And you were saying you did not realize that you were going through trauma until you began therapy.
Yes,
And
yes.
so how was that defined for you? How did this revelation come to be?
When I was started my therapy journey, that was the best thing that God ever could lead me to. The therapist allowed me a space to be seen and heard. I was able to share with her some tough things that I didn't understand about my upbringing, what was happening to me, what has happened to me. She was able me to articulate and put a name to it because I didn't know the terminology. I didn't
Mm,
know the terminology of abuse. I didn't know the terminology of emotional emotional abuse, speaking words over people, saying bad things to you, traumatizing you in an emotional way. I didn't know the terminology of that.
yeah.
But
Well, let's turning point. When was the turning point
the
of your
turn
healing journey?
the turning point for me is when I came to Jacksonville. That was in 2017, and during that year, that was my last two youngest was in college, and that gave me the time that I needed to get back to me, and that gave me that opportunity to continue my therapy to
Mhm.
help me articulate my process with my mother, how to set healthy boundaries. I didn't know nothing about
Yeah.
boundaries, didn't know
Yes.
how to set boundaries.
Okay, okay.
So therapy has really been a catalyst to my healing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So were there any patterns that you had to unlearn?
Yes, yes. Back to Oklahoma when I was a young mother,
Mhm.
and I had started my journey with my faith. I could hear the spirit say to me, "You don't talk to them like that because one day you're gonna need them." I heard it was like he was just right here. No, you don't talk to them like that because one day you're gonna need them.
Mhm.
And I immediately stopped and was being made aware. No, that came from when you was a child.
Mhm.
That's what your mama said to you. Mm-mm. Immediately taught me how to be aware of what I'm saying and speaking over my children.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to someone still struggling with a toxic parenting relationship? And I'm talking about not just the relationship you had, but I know you say you and your mother are at a better place. And I know I didn't go into detail, we didn't go into detail what that looks like, at least right now we haven't. But based on what you had picked up
Hmm.
and learned and was conditioned,
Hmm.
now, what advice would you give someone that would be struggling with this, with toxic parental, or we can just say intergenerational trauma
Yeah,
in
exactly.
relationship?
My advice to anyone that's experiencing any toxicity in their um, relationship with their parents, not only their parents, with anyone in their family or even a spouse, I learned how to set boundaries.
Mm.
I learned how to set healthy boundaries. And there's things that you don't have to tolerate anymore. And that's when I started learning that Janice have a voice. And that's another thing I didn't have as a child. I didn't have a voice. And I
Mm.
found my voice in therapy. I
So
learned
what does what does healing look like for you today?
today healing in my life right now, especially in that area that was so sore for me with the relationship with my mom, repairing that, and God is still, I'm still under construction. It's it is it has enabled me to be able to have a conversation with my mother. It has given me an opportunity to have a relationship with her where I can now empathize because I didn't know I didn't have empathy.
Mm.
I knew that I wasn't operating in empathy because what I was doing, I was kept rehearsing, and nursing the trauma. I was continuing the trauma with speaking it, being angry. And I learned that I had to let it go.
Janice, who were you angry with?
Whoo, I was angry with my mom for one, because I felt like she could have been a little bit better.
Mm.
Because the love I desired to have, that mother and daughter dialogue I didn't get. And God started showing that was a friendship. You guys had a friendship because she had me young.
Mm.
My mom was she was a teenage mother.
Well, I hear you say friendship, and what I'm thinking about is relationship. Friendship, relationship. Sometimes friendships are not relationships, and actually, usually parenting and a parenting should be a relationship and
Mhm,
not a friendship. Now, you can have the ship in it,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
but in a relationship on any spectrum calls for so much more.
Yes, yes,
So much more.
yes. And you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
And the
Wow.
way
Wow.
and now I'm gonna share something with you that just downloaded.
Okay.
The reason why he showed me that it was a friendship because we could never have those real conversations.
Oh, let me say this then. I hear what you're saying, but a lot of times in our community, we don't have those real conversations. Why? Because children are to be, whew, I'm going to do this, seen, but not heard.
I heard.
Wow.
Not heard.
That's some part of a generational curse. I would say, and I would argue anyone to say that, because when you don't give your child a voice, but they learn how to talk,
Mhm.
how can they communicate if they don't practice with the ones that is modeling communication with them?
Correct.
How can they play those things out so they can be more successful in life if they don't have that playing field, which is home?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So many of us struggle with this, what you just said.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's talk about, I'm going to skip a little ahead and let's talk about your book.
My book.
Yeah, your book. You didn't know this, but I ordered it. Ordered it from Amazon. You know, everything else I ordered. Oh, it's beauty for my ashes. Let's talk about that. What inspired this book, Janice?
I got the vision about His beauty for my ashes. Oh, it's been so long ago, but I didn't know what was going to become of that.
Mhm.
That title came because He started talking about give me the ashes, and I give you my beauty. And so when He said it was time to start writing, I was like, oh, God, I didn't know. I didn't know that it was my personal session with
Mm.
Him, with God. That title came from Him, His beauty for my ashes, meaning I gave up everything that I thought I should have a right to be holding on to, a right to be angry, a right to be sad, a right to be holding this over my mom for the rest of her life, a right
Mm.
holding over my dad for the rest of his life. No, He told me you can't have the beauty unless you give up the ashes.
Well, let's talk about the ashes. Chapter 1, the ambassador or the ambassador. Chapter 2, my journey to beauty for my ashes. 3, power of forgiveness. Whoa, that's it. Power of forgiveness.
Yes,
That's what I just heard.
yes,
Learn to be better. Chapter 4, learn to be better, not bitter.
yes.
Hope. I hope there is a person that's out there. I was going to say a woman, but not a woman, a person, because when we talk about um, chapter 3, power of
Mhm,
forgiveness, there's
mhm.
some people out there that need to forgive. And they need to forgive because of the trauma they have
Yes,
gone through. They're holding on and they're angry. And as long as you're angry, you'll never heal.
you're never here.
As long as they're not forgiveness, you'll never heal.
You're
And
never here.
yes, I use that all or nothing term of never, but you won't
You won't.
heal.
It's the truth. You won't because all you're doing is keeping it. It's like you driving a car. He gave me those examples. You're driving a car, but you're still looking back. When you look back, you're going to have a wreck. It's the same thing with your past. The past is what? The past. It is the past. But we need to move forward
Behind you. Yeah.
right there behind you.
Yeah.
You got to leave the past right there behind you. And one of the things that's in my book, what you won't heal, it will continue to steal.
Mm. Say that again.
What you won't heal will continue to steal.
What you won't heal will continue to steal. Will it continue to steal from you?
Yes.
Ah, okay. And I know chapter 5, journal of forgiveness. So what you don't heal will continue to steal. Hmm. Wow. What you don't heal. And w- what I'm thinking of is the fact that someone out there is saying, "Oh, you can't heal it. You got to have God to heal it." Well, I'm here to tell you the last things he said on the cross was, "It is finished.
It is finished.
It is finished." So if there's a healing out there, he already has done that for you, baby.
Yes, it has.
He said it. He's
Yes.
not taking away, it is finished. That means we have to do something. We have to activate something in
Yes.
order to get that beauty that
Yes.
this power coach is talking about.
Yes.
We have to do something. You can have all the faith in the world you want, but faith without works is dead. And so work it. And working it is the first activation of it. Forgiveness.
That's correct.
I will myself to forgive. So if I don't forgive, it will continue to steal. And it will continue to steal those things that are blank. We're going to put continue to steal blank. You put in that blank, and I guarantee you, if you don't, that blank will be stolen from you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I tell you what, if someone is listening, is struggling with similar past, what's the first step they should take?
The first step they should take is they need to release themselves,
Mhm.
because it starts within them, because they're holding on to everything that person has done, and they're in a personal prison while that person is going on with their life and they thinking nothing is wrong. It starts within yourself. You forgive and you release it. You release it and allow the healing to start from within
Mhm.
so it can show up on the outside. Starts from within. And it's a daily thing. You cannot keep rehearsing it, because the more you rehearse it, the more you're going to nurse it.
Mm. Say that again.
The more you, that's hot off the press right there. The more
As I said, say that
you
again.
nurse
Say
it, the more
it again and again and again and again and again.
you nurse it, and you're never going to go forward with your healing. So it starts with you.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is for you.
You know, I have met so many, and this time I'm going to say women, even though, gentlemen, I am not excluding you,
That's right.
but I have seen so many women that hate themselves.
Hmm.
Now, you
Hmm.
know how I know they hate themselves? Because they hate on their sisters.
That's it.
They hate on people that look like them.
Speak on it.
They hate themselves. They hate what they see in the mirror. Therefore, when they see you, they hate you. How do you know? Because your fruit will tell everything about you,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would say the first part of healing is identifying that you need healing.
That's right.
Identify why every time I'm walking, I hit
Mm.
a roadblock.
Wow.
And the block is so large, it looks like a wall.
Mm.
Well, it's because you're in denial and you have not recognized or have not confessed that you need help. And it doesn't make a difference. You don't have to confess it to yourself, Janice.
Right.
You have to confess it to someone else, and you don't have to confess it to someone else. You can confess it to yourself.
That's right.
The biggest thing is confessing that,
Yes.
just saying it. I need help.
Yes. Yes.
And when we do that, it loosens trauma up just a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because trauma takes a hold of us, it impacts us
Mhm.
because of what I call stuck points in our mind, our thoughts.
Mhm.
We have thoughts that stay at a place, we get stuck because of that trauma. And those thoughts are actually our defense mechanisms. They're
Yeah.
things that protect us. All people are no good. All men are no good. All women are no good. All. I will never. I can't trust nobody because there is nobody for me. Those are stuck points.
Yes,
And
they
you cannot get past and go forward until those stuck points are taken care of.
That's right.
And that's where we come in and we challenge those thoughts.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, Janice,
Mhm.
where can people connect with you, work with you, or even get your book if they want that?
They can actually go on my website. They can order the book from there. It's empower-lifecoaching.com.
Okay. Okay. And if they're in the Jacksonville area,
They get to go on my website as well.
As well.
All my information is on there. They can make an appointment with me,
Mhm.
do video appointments, and I also do mobile here locally.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now I know Jacksonville is a little south of, is it Georgia or no, it's Georgia,
Georgia. Mhm.
right? So for
Yep.
those people in that Georgia area, if you're in Savannah, if you're in those on those areas, Janice is right down the street.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. But if you're in New York City, if you're in Brooklyn, shout out to Brooklyn. But
Yes.
also, if you're in Tacoma, Washington, she also can be reached. Go to her website because she can talk to you, she can coach with you virtually.
Yes.
You know, it's something about these virtual airs now. That's how we're live. We're live and we're coming correct.
Yes.
And sometimes people see this as a hard subject that we're talking about. It's a big thing,
It is.
but it's so worth it.
It is.
In order to walk out in our purpose, we have to first deal with those things within ourselves.
Yes.
We got to deal with that little girl, that little boy that's within us.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
something is said also. Understand that everything that's discussed with Janice or with myself is confidential.
Yes.
We're not the
Absolutely.
barbershop. We're not the beauty salon.
No, we're not.
We're not in the church pews, even though
No.
on Sundays we are.
Right.
But
That's
we're not there. We're professionals
yes.
and we're here to help you. She's here to help you. Again, she's the empower coach. And so a lot of times, we're going to put it out there. People want to be so blessed, not even understanding that the word bless means empowered to prosper.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be blessed, you have to know that requires you to be empowered to prosper. And if you feel like you're not prospering right now or even empowered, reach out.
Yes.
You can reach out to myself. You can DM me on this Facebook. You can DM me on Instagram. You can DM me. You can make a comment on YouTube. You can go to Janice's website. What's your website again, Janice?
It's empower-lifecoaching.com.
Okay. Empowering-lifecoaching.com. And so are there anything or is there anything, Janice, you want to leave here with?
I want everyone to first to know that it's not easy, but you're worth it. You're worth the healing. You're worth it. And you are seen and heard. And you are important and you do matter. Always remember you matter.
As a recap, because somebody's asking, if I have problems with my mother and my mother has had trauma, I just know it. What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, you recommend it. I recommend prayer. You pray and ask the Spirit to show you how you can have those conversations without causing offense. Because my mistake was I was too busy coming at her from an angry place, and I wasn't healed. It was my little girl talking. My little wounded little girl was talking, and she wasn't hearing me because that kept her right there where she was all alone, being that little girl.
Mhm.
So I had to have some hard conversation with myself first.
Well, I'm hearing this. Well, Miss Janice, I don't pray. What do you recommend?
Well, I recommend therapy. You can start there. You can
Okay.
start there. Your therapist can help you have the dialogue because I didn't know the dialogue, y'all. That's
Because
right.
it's true that some people have prayed and they still haven't gotten a breakthrough.
Mhm.
So it's not saying that prayer
It's
don't get you a breakthrough.
it's true. That's
I'm
the truth.
just saying that
Yeah,
sometimes people have prayed and they've prayed and they've prayed and they still hadn't got a breakthrough.
that's right.
So
That's right.
God gives us wisdom,
That's right.
right?
That's right. That's right. He gives us wisdom. And I'll say this: we have a doctor for everything else. Why not have a doctor for the mind?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we have doctors that study the mind,
That's right.
right?
That's,
Right? That study trauma
that's right.
and understand that
Understand it.
the same way God will lead you to any other sector in your life,
That's
He
right.
can lead you to a wonderful therapist.
That's
He
right.
can also lead you and give you the wisdom of what to say to
Yeah.
your mother.
Yes. Because that's what I had to learn. The
I,
wisdom.
I think I think earlier you spoke of empathy. You said I
Yeah.
had to have some empathy.
I had to learn. And my therapist was showing me. She showed me it was a little animated video that she shared
Mhm.
with me.
Yeah.
And she showed me how I was basically kicking her down and she
Mm.
get up because of my lack of empathy.
Well, and the thing, if people out there don't know what empathy is, in short, is putting your feet in somebody else's shoes.
That's it.
In short,
Yes.
you know, looking at your parent not as so much as mama or daddy or papa or whomever, look at them as a human being too.
That's
Look
right.
at them that they had to go through a journey and still going through a journey as you were growing. And look at it as they did the best that they could with
That's
what they had.
what they had.
Look at it as that they've dealt with trauma too. The same or sometimes heavier trauma that we can even imagine. So
Absolutely.
we have to have a little, not only empathy, grace.
Yes.
We have to have that. And
Yes.
I tell you, it is something
Yes,
to
it is.
have some grace
Yes, it
for
is.
the people we love.
Amen. Mm-hmm.
They're not all superhuman. We expect them to be like Superman or like Wonder Woman. No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mm. They've gone through life too.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
They have.
I'm sorry, but I also had to remember my mother was a girl too when she gave birth to me. And that's when I started getting more and more empathetic towards her. I started really crying out
Mm.
towards her so that I can show up with the compassion because she didn't know any she didn't know either. She still sometimes don't realize it's what's trauma about the trauma.
Mm. Well, you know,
But it gave me so much compassion for her.
well, in earlier generations, I mean, we're at a great place in life, even though a lot of times people don't recognize that, but we're in a great place
Yes,
because our forefathers didn't get a chance to rest. They didn't get a chance to relax. They didn't get a chance to go to therapy or say, "Oh, I need somebody to talk to."
mhm, exactly.
You know, I spent about 10 years in the military, and all I can remember is suck it up and keep on going. But I can imagine what my people had to do. I
Yes.
remember my grandmother telling me of having a baby in 24 to 48 hours, you're back in the field and you chopping cotton. You
My
don't have a time to put your feet up. You
mm,
don't have a time to really nurture your children.
mm,
That wasn't a time for our people.
right.
But now we have so many expectations of those people who came before us. And other than being on their back and doing a better job than they could ever do, because we owe that to them to become better people
Yes.
than they could ever wish for us.
Yes.
And
Abs-
that comes with that empathetic view.
Yes.
And that also comes with the grace,
Yes.
because that's what we have. That's what we are now aware of.
Mhm.
Of if I wasn't walking in grace, if people in my circle wasn't empathetic, I don't know where I would be.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
So I am so excited. I am so excited for tomorrow, your tomorrow, Janice.
Yes.
I'm so excited for the people that are coming your way. I'm so excited about changed lives
Yeah.
out there in social media land.
Yes.
I am so excited. Why? Because trauma has hit the streets.
Yes. Yes.
Beauty for my ashes. That's it, right?
It's his beauty for my ashes.
His beauty.
Yes.
Mm. Well, we miss that a little bit. We miss that because his is capitalized. Go on and throw it out there. Who is his? Who's whose beauty are you trying to get?
His beauty. My Father. My Father in heaven.
Your Father in heaven.
Father in
Lay
heaven.
it out there.
My Father in heaven. He gave me this beauty. He gave it to me because I'm willing and able to release
Mhm.
those ashes.
And he will restore.
He will restore.
Mhm.
He will restore. He will restore. But I learned that throughout those ashes, there's residues that try to show up and stain your life. That's why it's important to give them to him. You don't want no stains. No stains.
Mm. Yeah.
Stains.
He said white as snow.
White as snow.
White as snow.
Yes.
And I can say, because when we met each other, we were both probably uh, in our late 20s, very, very early 30s. Uh,
Yes.
but we've both transformed, we've both evolved into women I never dreamed um, I would be.
Absolutely.
Both have testimonies that I know will blow people's minds. And
Yes.
we're not there yet. We're not going to go there yet. But at the same time, I
Absolutely.
want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for being my first guest on Traumatic Makeover TV. You have really, really shared some things that I really appreciate. And I know someone out there listening, you've planted the seed for them. And that's the whole thing. We want to plant seeds. We want to change lives. We want to be able to empower people to prosper. We
Yes.
want to also lead them in a direction of first educating.
Yes.
And if you educate someone, you can empower them. And
Absolutely.
if you can empower a person or help them motivate to be empowered, then
Yes.
healing
Absolutely.
begins rather. And with healing begins, transformation happens.
Yes.
And as transformation happens, that new creature is now recognized in
Mhm.
themselves.
Yes.
So the mirror is not always for vainness,
That's right.
to show us the change. So thank you so, so much.
You are so welcome.
Again, I am not letting you leave here without giving your website again.
Empower, EMPOWER dash lifecoaching.com. Life coaching together.
Okay. So again, Janice Robinson, my guest from Jacksonville, Florida. Florida. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
you're so welcome.